Hello and welcome back to the Health Hun Podcast. I'm with the gorgeous Jordan.
I mean, we were just almost caught in the rain. So this could have looked very different.
Oh my god, so much worse. We were literally driving on our bikes in the chaotic traffic, of course, and I was literally like, oh, it's gonna rain, it's gonna rain, it's gonna rain.
I was following her like, oh my god, there's a big black cloud.
I know, and I could hear the thunder earlier on as well. I was like, no.
Yeah, while we were getting ready.
Literally,
Yeah.
Jordan's my neighbour actually. We only met like 2 weeks ago or
Yeah.
something. I love this so much. I think with Bali, you can have the deepest conversation with people. And
We
there's no
literally,
judgment.
I saw her sunbathing by the pool and I thought, all is that? So I like hurried over and then we had a full counselling session for
did,
about 2
yeah.
hours. Yeah, it was great.
For both of us,
Yeah.
it was good. We talked about the masculine and the feminine, our different careers. And although we had very different industries, you were in the beauty industry, I was in like the science industry. We both had the same kind of transition where we wanted to do something more fulfilling and kind of go after our passions and just bring... there was just something missing that we wanted to bring into the world, and you made that jump and that leap. Well done.
Thank you.
Do you want to talk us through that a little bit?
Yeah, so I think it was COVID that kind of did it for me. It was more of I can actually work from anywhere in the world because we all proved it during lockdown. So
Yeah.
I think it was more of I've always had the travel bug. I've always wanted to see different countries. I loved Bali when I came 4 years ago. And the plan was not to stay in Bali. The plan was to travel around and just do Bali for a month, but then you get sucked in. Mother Bali sucks you in, and I mean, she spits you out, don't get me wrong.
Oh, she spits you
Oh
out.
yeah,
Oh
she
my
chews
God.
you up. But yeah, I kind of thought, you know what, I have excelled in what I want to do in England, which is beauty. I'm very heavily in the beauty manufacturing plant, and thought there's got to be more to life than this. Like I'm no longer as passionate about it as I once was.
Yeah.
So then I came to Bali to heal, and on this healing journey I got smacked with a lot of home truths and basically admitted that I had a sex addiction.
Wow.
So getting here and going and working with all these different healers and things, it was more of a realisation for me that you've got a problem, you need to sort it out, let's just do some inner work. I wasn't planning on jumping into this career or anything. I did sell sex toys for 2 years during COVID. So I've always been within that circle, within that industry. I knew how it kind of worked. I'm massive on pleasure and like just
queen.
just being in your utmost masculine and feminine energies. So yeah, then I came to Bali, started working on myself, thought that every single healer was wrong. Because because they all tell you about yourselves and this person you've never met before.
Okay.
So for me, I had to seriously step out of my ego to the point where I thought, you're not telling me about myself. Like, I've lived this life.
You didn't know about that part of yourself?
I never admitted I had a problem.
Okay.
Would never.
Wow.
I just thought, no, everyone's like this. It's not just me. And I didn't realise how controlled I was sexually in my past relationships. So the more I worked through this, so this was 8 months ago, and then one of my healers said, you seriously will help so many women if you tap into this. And I thought, maybe I'll do a podcast. So that's kind of how it started.
Okay.
And then one of my healers said, I'll train you to be a sex coach.
Wow.
So then that's kind of, I thought, well, I'm interested in it. So I'd love to learn more about the psychology side of it. And yeah, it kind of spiraled from there. And here I am now, a sexual empowerment coach.
Sorry, I have to laugh. I was listening to another podcast that you were on getting fisted by a fucking yoni crystal.
You know what? This damn podcast, I swear to God, I filmed that when I went back home to like visit for a little bit, and it's got that many views on TikTok. It's gone viral, and I cannot escape it.
For all the right
The
reasons,
one
it's fucking
freaking
hilarious.
line of me saying I got fisted by a crystal, which did happen, by the way. But in a more spiritual setting.
Yes.
It wasn't a sexual setting.
It was healing though. You got something from that. Like,
You know what?
Massively.
After it, I thought that was really fucking strange. I don't know how I feel about it. Went home, slept solidly for 14 hours, and she said to me, you have released a lot. I was purging and everything. Like, there was a lot coming up. I was being sick. A lot was going on. And I never orgasmed, which I'm sad about, because she did say a lot of women do orgasm throughout this whole in touch with yourself. So I went home, slept, and then woke up, cried probably for about 5 hours solid, because you release a lot of sexual trauma. And I never realised how much sexual trauma I had. Yeah. And I don't think any woman does.
No.
We are so good, we are so emotionally intelligent, too emotionally intelligent sometimes, that we suppress our feelings through protecting others.
Yeah.
And we shouldn't do that. That is the world's biggest demon, trapping it in ourselves, and then it comes out in body injuries, as you will know.
Yeah.
So yeah, I kind of did that whole journey, and then here I am.
I think I did a similar healing. I think it was the same woman. We'll name the name. Chelsea?
Yes.
Yeah. But I would have done that, and the same as you, I just was like, what the fuck is this? So I don't know what I signed up for. I think I was like sick, and I knew at that point that I had suppressed sexual trauma. So I did, I remembered.
Did you do the yoni cleanse, or did you do a different cleanse?
No, it was like a womb healing kind of thing, and I still didn't really know what it was, and it wasn't until like 3 months later that I kind of actually accepted what it was as like an energetic kind of thing. Same as you, I was in my ego a little bit, and I'm very spiritual, like I'm very about the energetics, very about the alternative healings, but for some reason I just couldn't get into that. I was like, what the fuck did she do to me?
And when she blew it in the top of your head?
No, she was very much about like, so I came into the room first and foremost.
Yeah,
we dropped down.
I love talking about stuff like this. I'm like, tell me.
We did a meditation, and we sat down together, and she basically started saying different things about parts of like my family, parts of like my masculine, my feminine, suppressed parts, and then she was like, okay, well, why are you here? And because she started with those things, it kind of created that safe environment for me to talk about it then. And I didn't really know why I was there. It was recommended by a friend here in Bali, and she would have done a lot of work with her. And because I was getting recurrent sickness and a lot of issues, a lot of like dizziness, like when you're in your fight or flight with trauma, you can shut down. I was shutting down with my friends. I wasn't having the energy to do any sort of training. Like I had no life in me, basically. And I had suppressed trauma probably about a year at that point, and like say 2 months before that I realized I needed therapy. I was like in a breathwork session here, my first breathwork session, fucking traumatized. I was like, oh my god, I am fucked up right now, I need help. It was what
this is the first thing we think. Wow, I'm fucked.
I know, literally.
What is going on?
Literally, I know. And like, even though I have my trauma specialist course, I know all this kind of stuff, it is just that thing that we internalize, isn't it?
Yeah.
That you're like, something's wrong with me, but it's like, it's actually just a product of what you've been exposed to in your life.
Absolutely.
And not being able to handle that or suppressing that. So of course, if I suppress it for that long, it's gonna fucking come out somewhere.
Oh my god.
You know?
It's so intense, isn't it?
But so she then dropped back in. I don't know if she pulled cards or did like I think she like grounded and kind of like prayed to Mama Bali and kind of welcomed us. I was kind of a little bit like, okay, I don't know if I can get into this now and all that kind of stuff.
I was really resistant.
Literally. And I'm like, why are you like judging this or resisting this right now? Like, you came to this voluntarily. Like, this is something that you are into normally. You do fucking Reiki, you do all this full moon shit. Like, why don't you want to do this today? But it's that fear. It's that fear of like not wanting to go there.
100%.
Like, literally,
it's scary. It's a very scary place to go. And I think even I went to her after I'd already been to my healer called Jimmy, who I plug constantly. He is amazing. And he's a mind, body and soul healer, so he works very heavily on your pressure points all over your body and where certain emotions are trapped. So you know how Chelsea was very much Reiki sort of a thing. It was very energy. And whereas he touched me in certain places and I had no control over the release that came out. Like, I'd scream, I'd bust into tears, I'd cough profusely and couldn't stop. And it was when I was working with him, I thought, like, how come certain parts of my body are releasing this amount of trauma? And he does this like weird thumb, sorry Jimmy if you're watching, this weird thumb pulling thing above your body, so it's like tapping into your energies.
Wow.
And it was like, what happened to you when you were 21? And he knows certain ages because of how your body picks up and holds the trauma. You'll do it different along certain age cycles.
Wow.
And I was like, ugh, and I'd just cry and cry and cry. And I didn't actually realise how much I'd been through until I had to tap into it.
Because
it's intense.
You run, you hide,
you run, and we completely put our guards up, and we block it out, and you never. It's like put away in Pandora's box. And then when somebody makes you think about it, it's like, oh,
don't really want to go there, do we?
Not really.
No, not today. Maybe next week.
Yeah.
But when you are kind of forced to do it, so she brought me through like a breathwork kind of thing, and then like an energetic thing, and like all I could describe it was like it was really fucking intense. Like she was kind of screaming, and she was kind of being like, release, and so with trauma, it can be beneficial, not always. You don't always need to have a release and to kind of walk back through the memory in a safe kind of body safe environment, obviously with somebody trained that can help you with modalities. It could even be therapy with a trauma qualified specialist and so on. So she kind of got me to go through a situation where I was able to actually say no to something, so that actually gave me back my power, and that gave me back that release. But I was still so resistant to her. She kept being like, say no, come into it, let go, release, control. And it wasn't until the last 15 minutes of that breathwork session, which I think was like 40 minutes, that I actually let go, she said.
Really?
So that's how uptight in my control, and I can sometimes notice it in my body. So I would have been for so long like with your senses. So this is why releasing from the body can be beneficial, because your senses can remember. So you can be sensing a situation that might have happened in the past, but it's not actually your present situation, just because your body remembers. So
this is a massive thing that I go into with my clients.
Okay.
That the first thing we'll cover is, tell me about your first sexual experience.
Wow.
So we've got to go all the way back, because even if it's, I'm sorry to be crude, but I got fingered in a park like as my first ever sexual experience. I'd never even had a proper kiss.
No, it's not sexual at all.
And I was so embarrassed about that and held so much shame around it for so long. And then my next experience after that was losing my virginity, and I shouldn't have been. When I think about it, was rape. So tapping into all those different things really influences how you see sex going forward. You might not always think about it, but it's subconsciously always there, and like your senses, your instincts telling you no, fear, and that's kind of why women won't let go fully in sex. They don't trust, they don't relax, they don't completely go into their bodies, because they're so in their head, they're so living that same moment over and over and over again. And that's kind of how I target it, to know where the first ever issue is, because then we work through it all.
It's really important, because I think, like with my own similar experience, like yourself, like you said there, when you think about it, that was not okay. That was rape.
Not okay.
But you didn't think about it that way until you got older and actually understood this. And this is why these conversations are so important with talking about sex. And like what you said, sorry to be crude, but fingered, but like, why is that a crude conversation? You know?
It's not
at all. It's something that happens.
And
like with this, I think what was interesting is that from trauma, your trauma response was to go into more sex, whereas mine was actually to shut away from it and kind of shame with it a little bit, because of that, like I suppose the shutdown side of things for me, which is what, this is obviously really personal, but we go
get
into
deep, dark and personal. That's how we do it.
But for years I would have shut down, and it would have been all about the man in the situation, and it would have all about been, okay, just it's over when he's finished kind of thing, not really about me performing, maybe faking an orgasm kind of thing, not actually about me getting the experience. And this is why these conversations are so fucking important. I did a poll on Instagram I did one back in this time last year, and I did one back in like March or something, because I was talking about those conversations again, and the amount of women that haven't orgasmed, and it breaks my fucking heart. It really breaks my heart, because it feels so fucking good.
You're missing out so much.
But it doesn't, like, obviously I'm just speaking about this from my own experience as a heterosexual female, but it doesn't have to be just about the man, okay? It can be about you, and this is where I suppose people can miss that communication element in their relationships. So I suppose if that is something that's going on and a woman hasn't experienced an orgasm, what would you start with when you're coaching a client?
If they're in a relationship?
relationship or single?
Okay, so I talk massively on pleasure and not feeling shame and guilt around it.
Yeah.
Because once you break down that barrier of I shouldn't be feeling this good or I'm stressed, go and get your toys. Like, I constantly say it to my friends, and me and my friends joke about it all the time. I'm like, how many orgasms you had today? You know, if they're really stressed out, I'm like, how many times the toys come out? And it needs to be a conversation like that, and just think, you know what, this is a release, and it's an emotional release. And it's so good for you that is normally where we have to start.
Yeah.
How do you see pleasure?
Yeah.
Are you ashamed of pleasure? Where do you get pleasure from? Because it can be many things. People get pleasure from eating.
Yeah.
People get pleasure from going to the cinema. It can be absolutely anything. And we hold so much shame in sexual pleasure.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
I think even pleasure in general, because like you said, food. So I would deal with clients with emotional eating and that kind of like suppression of their emotions through eating, filling that void.
Yeah.
There's shame in that as well. And it's like, we need to get better at accepting pleasure, you know, and it doesn't have to be this taboo subject. Like, you can actually just have fucking a good time doing anything
and not feel guilty for it.
No.
Think, you know what, I deserve that because I've had a really hard day. I'm going to pleasure myself. So we go around that whole angle of, do you like receiving pleasure? Do you think you're worthy of receiving pleasure?
Yeah.
And how well do you receive pleasure? So then we'll either go down the route of I've never orgasmed, or I can only orgasm myself. I can only orgasm with clitoral stimulation. And I think what really upsets me is that the sexual education system is so bad that we are so ashamed to know about our bodies.
It's literally just porn, isn't it?
Literally, that's all we've got to go off.
Yeah.
Porn. And actually, I learnt the other day, our neighbour,
Okay.
Quay, I'm going to drop you in a Quay. He said that he learned how to have sex through porn.
Wow.
But there's an educational system now, like a segment now on Pornhub.
Okay.
That actually teaches you how to do it. And I think it's only come into play like the last 5 years.
Now, is it like porn style education?
No, it's like really tantric sex and like teaching you how to be really emotionally connected to it and different positions and all this other stuff. Yeah, totally looked into it. Go Pornhub. Because we needed that.
Yeah.
And I think for me especially, I kind of learned through older men that I was in sexual relationships with, and what they kind of said went, because as open as it is in my household, like, I'm not embarrassed to talk about it in front of my mum and dad. They're like, Jordan, not again. We're having breakfast. And my sister's like,
she's off already at 9 a.m.
Literally. He's like, just eat your sausage. And I'm like, well, Dad, that kind of, and he's like, stop it, for God's sake. I just can't. It's like word vomit.
Yeah.
But I would so much rather be like that and put people in situations where I'm like, talk about it, get red, and then cool down again, because that is a normal yeah. And I think that's how I kind of work with my clients. I've got to trigger them to know what angles we have to work on. And communication's a massive thing as well. I say, if you don't have communication, you don't have anything. Yeah. There's got to be that line of communication that goes down what your barriers are, what your boundaries are, how safe you feel. Do you need safe words? Tell them what you want, because a big thing is, if you don't know yourself, how the hell is somebody else going to know?
Yes.
And we live in fear that we can't pleasure ourselves. Like, why is that a thing?
I think it's like an embarrassing thing. So I did put up a poll or question box before, and like the feedback was really about like embarrassment of like, don't know where to start, don't know what to do. And it can be, and I think it's a bigger issue when we're disconnected from our bodies, when we don't know how to help ourselves feel good in any kind of setting. So not even just sexually, but like, are you living a job that makes you feel good? Are you really low in energy because you're starving yourself? Are you over exercising? Are you people pleasing? Are you punishing yourself in any way? You know, there's lots of these bigger picture things that can affect that. And then if you've got no sex drive because you're so fucking stressed, like, how are you gonna,
it's just a knock-on effect in your whole entire life.
I had no sex drive for a long time because both I was on the contraceptive pill and then because I would have been overtraining and under-eating and basically lost my period. So no periods, no hormones, no sex drive.
You have PCOS.
Yeah.
As do I.
Yes.
PCOS bunnies.
Yeah, so it's a journey. And sometimes I feel like the testosterone's very high and I'm just like, oh, fucking hell, we have a high sex drive today.
Oh my God.
The days it's non-existent and I'm like,
no.
Couldn't be arsed. Absolutely not even bothered.
Yeah. And it took me a long time to kind of suss that out because I was so in a place when I was younger that I should be enjoying sex. I should be having sex all the time, every day, as much as my boyfriend wants it.
Yeah, that's such a powerful conversation.
Yeah, and when I didn't want to. So I'd put myself in that situation just to please him.
Yeah.
And it kind of programmed me to think, no, I am enjoying it. But really I wasn't.
No.
I was just doing it just to keep him quiet.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of women do that.
Yeah.
A lot of women.
Yeah, I've done that myself, literally. And like I said, it's all about the men, like literally. Yeah. And you're trying to, every single time, trying to get yourself into, trying to get yourself to enjoy it, but it just doesn't happen. And like, this is an important part of it as well. If you're trying so much, you're trying to achieve, you're trying to get there, you can be in your fight or flight because there's that stress element.
Yeah.
An orgasm happens in your parasympathetic side of your nervous system when you're relaxed.
Relax.
If you're not feeling relaxed, I suppose, like, would this be a time when you tell your client to kind of step back from the situation?
Yeah. So make sure it's a safe environment. If it's not, and you feel any sort of your intuition saying, I'm not okay with this, you stop.
Yeah.
You address it. And that is you being in your higher self. You can absolutely say no at any point. You should never feel any shame. And that's a big thing for me as well. I never said no because I was so afraid of the backlash of it. And I just thought, it's really not worth the argument we're going to have when we go home from this situation if I don't do this. And there needs to be a safe environment for women, especially, and men as well. I think we're drilled to have this. You should be enjoying sex. If you have a boyfriend, you should be having sex all the time. Fucking hell. I had PCOS and had no sex drive for 2 months.
Yeah.
And did not have sex. But from going from not having sex to wanting sex all the time, he did not understand it. And it was like, we'll learn about PCOS because then if you actually learn about my body, you'll understand and we'll work together better. And he was horrendous about the whole thing and cheating, and then I just questioned my self-worth, and there was just so much up and down and we couldn't help it. I couldn't help the fact that I had PCOS and that it went undetected for so long because of contraception.
Wow.
So God, I don't know how long I had it. I think I have the pill-induced PCOS.
Okay.
Because my cysts fluctuate now.
Okay.
And never have been so bad that I've had to have them removed.
Okay. Yeah.
But if I'm having, if I'm having sex at a certain point and it's painful, I think, fuck, my sister, like, up at the minute, I need to stop. This position's not working.
Yeah.
So I think that's another thing as well. A lot of women that they don't realise either have, I know it sounds like because people take the piss out of it, but wide set vaginas
and a heavy flow.
Is an actual thing. Yeah. And having a tilted cervix is a thing. Having a small shaft is a thing. It's completely dependent on your vaginal canal and how well you can adapt to somebody else's penis. And this is a massive thing that I talk about with people, that sex toys can be suited to you.
Okay.
There's some sex toys that will not work for you that might absolutely work for me and be my favourite.
Yeah.
It's a trial and error thing, but it's all about sussing out how your body works.
Yeah, I agree.
Fall in love with yourself and totally be in love with yourself, and the person that's at the side of you will just transmit that energy as well.
I agree. And I think that's what it is. It's all about communication. And even like if you're not in a relationship, communication with the people around you. Like, we never spoke about my friendship groups with you, never spoke about pleasure, never spoke about...
Really?
Never.
See, that's the topic of my girls' conversation.
Oh, it is now.
Yeah.
The girls I have now around me, we do.
Do you think that's more in Ireland?
I think so. I would say so in Ireland, obviously we've got the influence of the Catholic Church.
Yeah.
So that is something that has fucked a lot of people over. There's so much shame, there's so much whispers, there's so much slut shaming. There is obviously the trauma, the generational trauma from getting pregnant at a young age, goes to the Magdalene laundries. So for anyone that doesn't know, the Magdalene laundries was when young women out of wedlock would have got pregnant back in Ireland and would have been shipped away essentially with the shame taken away from their families, and they would have had seen their pregnancy through the term, and their baby would have been taken off them. Okay, so their baby would have, and there's lots of other fucked up shit that happened there. But like that in itself, I remember the fear of fucking God in me of getting pregnant young when I was younger. Yeah,
really?
Like, oh my God, it would have been the worst thing to happen to me in my whole life.
To bring shame on the family.
Oh my God, absolutely. And that's nothing to do with my parents. Like now, they probably would have a very different perspective. But it was that generational thing where you would ruin your life because of that fear that's just conditioned passed down through the generations. Yeah. So for me to even talk about sex is just never a thing. Like we never had a conversation about it. I was on the pill, so it was like a thing that was kind of
Did your mum and dad give you the birds and the bees talk?
My mum handed me a book and kind of spoke about the book. So I was such a clued in child, so that I think they knew that. Yeah. So I knew
you were already educated.
Yeah, so I knew Santa wasn't real. I knew all this kind of shit, you know. Yeah. So I would have connected loads of dots, and I would have hung around with loads of older kids. So I actually would have had a lot of shame when I was younger of not knowing this stuff.
Same. So, I felt like I needed to be the educated one.
Oh my God, yeah. And you were
I've still not got to the bottom of this. I'm like, what childhood trauma made me like that? And I think it's because I grew up around older cousins and I always wanted to be included.
I think you feel left out then. Yeah. So it's not like fear of social rejection or isolation, or embarrassment even.
Yeah, because my cousins were all like, are you too young to watch this? Jordan, you can't play this game. Yeah.
Yeah. No,
so I think I was like, well, if I do it first without them knowing, I'm in there.
So you were a little brat as well.
Oh, I was a brat. Oh my God, still am slightly. A bit concerned.
I remember even watching like Desperate Housewives, which was obviously so like provocative when you were like fucking 8 years old and 9 years old. Yeah. My mum used to like drop my brothers to football. Mum, if you're listening to this, she used to drop my brothers to like football training or something, and I'd sneak into the front room and I'd be like watching it, and then if I see the car coming in, I'd be like fucking running into I was doing my homework the whole time. Literally, like from a young age, I wanted to know all this stuff because of the older kids, and I'd get like borderline bullied, not bullied over those kind of things, but you know, kids are fucking ruthless. Literally they are. Well, there was obviously bullying along the way. Oh, no. But but anyways, that's not today's conversation.
No.
But no, those conversations would have been from a young age. That would have, if they were delivered in a better way, it would have actually been a very different perspective of sex, you know, and pleasure and communication. Yeah. And it literally wasn't until 2020 that I started masturbating, like self-pleasure. Yeah. Because I had so much shame. And do you know what? I didn't know I had sexual trauma until...
But you were sexually active before then?
Yeah. So I've had a journey. I've had a journey with sex, but...
Oh my God, we need to go into this. How do I not know this?
I know. But... so I would have had... So, like, during fucking lockdown, literally boredom, like, got the better of me, and I was like, I need to start entertaining myself.
Great time to start.
Literally, oh my God, girlies, if you have never started, start, okay? Like, amazing.
Love that for you.
Borderline addiction for a while because it became the only thing that was giving me pleasure.
I mean, we were in lockdown for a long time.
Oh God. Yeah. But then at like the end of summer 2020, so probably like 6 months into loving my life, I had a memory that I had sexual trauma. So it would have started then the uncovering of all of that. And I think it happened at the right time. I think it did, like, well, I suppressed it at the time, and I had like PTSD for a few weeks, like literally was shook, absolutely fucking shook. I couldn't like, literally was consumed by it, and I basically would have decided, right, we're going to therapy for this shit because what the fuck.
Yeah.
And then it was kind of like a waiting list situation because of COVID, and I actually then decided, okay, well, I feel better now, I don't need to really think about it. I wasn't better, like I was not better. No, I never went back to the same. And I didn't really understand that lack of safety in my body. I had just been so in my head. Obviously, COVID didn't help. I started my business then, I think. So preoccupied by everything else. Just wanted to leave the country. Like, there were so many things that I was not aware of what was going on in my body.
Fight and flight.
Pretty much. fast forward then, still suppressing. I tried to go to, maybe 6 months later, I tried to go to therapy. I tried to talk about it, did not feel safer in that therapist, and she made it fucking worse. Like, now what I know with trauma therapy, like, she should have done like body regulation first. And she was like questioning why I was there. I'm like, literally. So that obviously
you're
got, like,
instantly
an attack.
on defense.
So suppressed it for another year, and then literally, like what you said, come to Bali and it spits you out. So so it's been a journey, but what was amazing was having the conversations with the girls throughout the years of self-pleasure, of masturbation, of literally like celebrating that, oh my god, did you get a new toy? Like, and this is what's important. And talking about pleasure with sexual partners, but it's in a way that it's not about them, it's actually about you enjoying it. And 100%. We have this open communication where we talk about like, well, did you tell him that? And like, I remember I would have got a bit brave throughout the years, and if I wasn't enjoying it with a partner, I'd be like, what are you doing? Like, like,
why are you rubbing my belly button?
Literally, like, why are you doing this patting motion? Like, what is this? Or like, that like hurts. Do you think this is enjoyable? Like, really, what are you at?
The thing is, every woman's body is different. There's no roadmap. There's no like, read this book and that will pleasure me and it'll pleasure you. And this is another thing I have to say to people. What pleasures your ex-girlfriend isn't going to pleasure me. So stop going straight down there for the clit.
And figure it out.
I have different senses. And work on the 5 senses. That is massive. Touch, sight, smell, taste. It's all very influential on how safe we feel, how relaxed we feel. And then they can enjoy it more because you're not as tense. As a woman, I think they just think going hard and it'll make us forget and jiggle us out of whatever zone we're in. And it's not about that. A woman takes 14 minutes to reach arousal. A man takes 3 minutes.
Oh my god.
So the difference in how quick they can get turned on to them, because they're already at that peak.
Why haven't you?
Why the hell are you not there? And just because I'm wet does not mean I'm turned on.
Yes, that's so important.
Good lord, the amount of these conversations I have to have. I'm like, right, that is just a natural flow that's getting ready. That does not mean I'm ready for you to insert and go full throttle. I need to be mentally stimulated, whereas men don't. They just want to get the dick wet.
So what would you recommend for someone that is kind of feeling unsafe or feeling uptight, let's say, and kind of wants to transition into igniting their senses or kind of feeling that safety?
Masturbating on themselves.
100%.
So I say, I'm disclosing all my webinar information here. Still sign up.
Sneak peek.
Sneak peek. So I say I would set the tone. I'd set an environment. So we talk about giving ourselves self-love and journaling and giving ourselves this time. Include masturbating in that time. So go in the shower, shut the door. If you're in a busy shared environment, lock the door. Put some music on, sound it out. It can be bedroom songs. It could be whatever gets you going and in your feels and like in your feminine. The shower's running, the heat and the sensation of the hot and the cold. I usually take a drink with me in the shower, depending on what mood I'm in. If I want a glass of wine, I'll have a glass of wine. Because I'm treating myself. This is my time. Or I'll get a glass of ice, so like a cold water, for example, and then put the ice in my mouth and let it run down my body, because that sensation, the hot and cold play,
getting turned on.
Gets me going, and that's me totally stepping into my power of I'm enjoying this for me and I'm going to take this slow for me. And that is such a big confidence giver that I've never mastered the shower head thing. And I've fucking tried. The amount of shower heads I've nearly broken because I'm like, how do they do it? I don't understand. It's in so many films. It's in films, it's in movies, and people are like, oh, she's in the shower a long time. I'm like, what are they doing in that shower with that shower head?
That's a big thing about movies and the influence that they have.
Huge. Like, this is a big thing about me. I think when I realised I had a problem, I realised I'd never actually had passionate, intimate sex, ever. I'm 29 years old, and I still loathe to have experienced, like, the Birdsong scene where there's all they're on the floor in that rubbed up house, and I'm like, why have I not experienced that ever? And I talk about this heavily on my podcast. It's about your trauma bonded situations and what you think love isn't. And I was so heavily toxically influenced by sex and what I thought love was that it completely impacted how I'd see myself during sexual pleasure.
Wow.
Yeah.
So during your own sexual pleasure or with the relationship?
All of it.
Wow.
I think I became my own worst enemy because I started throwing sex parties and organising sex parties and being very heavily influenced by my peers.
Okay.
And I'm a very masculine energy, which I'm trying to drop into my feminine.
I don't even know you're a Pisces though.
A Pisces.
Pisces bitch.
Baby. Emotional as fuck. But Sag rising, Libra moon.
Okay.
So I'm...
Yeah.
And I very much took control of situations. I'd put my masculine energy forward to keep me safe because I've been let down so many times when I were in my feminine that I never feel safe in my masculine now. And I then became a business transaction for me.
Transactional, yes. That's such a powerful word for that.
Is a sad place to be when you think about it. And only when I started to be celibate and actually go within myself and think, you know what, I need to build this love within myself again and masturbate myself again. And so when you say celibate, I mean, I just wasn't receiving penetration from another human. And I totally fell back in love with myself and became one with my vagina again. It sounds so spiritual and guru, like whatever. But I did. Me and my vagina are one again. And we're besties. She's got me and I've got her. But
I don't think I've laughed so much on the podcast.
That's a good thing though. But I started crying after I orgasmed. Yeah.
Wow.
And I was seeing my healer about it, Once I dropped this whole guards and done this whole trauma therapy and stuff and really thought, fuck, I've been through a lot, I need to be kinder to myself. I had an obsession with masturbating because I wasn't going out and getting that pleasure off other people. So I was doing it probably one too many times. But then I started doing it and honestly would break into tears as soon as I'd climaxed.
Wow.
But my healer was like, this is you releasing your emotions. This is you starting to have a totally different relationship with yourself. And I thought, oh my God, what if I now have sex and I'm going to cry as soon as I come? Like, I can't cope with that. Have you seen, like, people that cry when they come? And it's an actual thing. And I'm like, I can't be that woman.
No.
I cannot go from one extreme.
To me, an instant ick. I'm like, oh, fuck, you need to leave. You need to leave.
Send him to me.
That's terrible, though, because, like, men can have emotions and stuff. But, like, that's my own projection because even if I cried, I'd be like, oh, my fucking God, I'm so embarrassed.
Exactly. It's more of an embarrassment thing of what's going on you deep inside. And it was because I was going through all these, letting go of so much emotional attachment. And I call her my alter ego Sasha, like Beyonce does, because I'm like, you know what, if she can call her Sasha, mine's Sasha. And I love Sasha. She is what's got me here today. She's fierce. She puts her first masculine energy forward and she is so boss bitch. But she is also a psycho. She lives in fear. She is so false to herself that whenever I'm having a bit of an imposter syndrome, I'm like, Sasha, not today. And I think that's part of me that I have to teach my clients as well. Let's name them. Like this, whether it's fear, whether it's obsession, whether it's abandonment, whatever it is that triggers you, name it.
Yeah, that's really important.
Because you get a much different relationship with them about it. So me and Sasha are still working through some things every goddamn day. But we're getting there. We're getting there.
Was Sasha the one that was at breakfast with your dad?
Sasha. My dad and Sasha do not get on.
But that's so important, and that helps a lot of people with other things as well. Just to know that you're not your thoughts and you can separate yourself from that as well.
100%.
And when you're in like your trauma body, your fight or flight, you feel like everything that is going on through your mind is fact. You're trying to seek out the danger to protect yourself and avoid situations. And I love the word you use, transactional, about the sex. That I went through a few years of that was just transactional.
Yeah.
Like, that's all it was. And last year I would have looked into relationships. Like, I never really decided to look into relationships and improving. I'm all about self-development, but never looked into relationships until last year, because I was like, they're just relationships. Like, what is there to learn? There's so much to learn. What do you think?
Your attachment styles, everything. I only recently during my course learned about attachment styles. And I'm an anxious attachment. I'm an anxious avoidant. So I'll make scenarios up in my head, get really anxious and cling on, but then not commit. So I'm like the freaking every single one you could, like the worst one, possibly the worst one, that I've had to really reprogram the way that I treat other people, that I treat myself, my boundaries, especially. I had no boundaries, none.
Same.
And I never respected anyone else's boundaries either, because I was so in my masculine that, well, that doesn't work for me, so I'm not accepting it. And that is such a negative place to be.
It is.
That I held a lot of guilt and shame around that as well, because that's a big thing, from going right back to us saying you should not have shame around this. We all have shame. It doesn't matter what. It could be a situation that embarrassed you at one point and you carry that shame forever. Until you learn to realise what your triggers are, you can really do the self-healing and the self-development to excel and start having the best sex of your life. It's a knock-on effect with everything.
But you just said that you didn't even know about this stuff until now. So isn't that funny how we carry the shame around it?
29 bastard years. I have not understood why I have been like this.
It's and again, it is.
What's your attachment
revealing.
style?
So I was fully avoidant, but now, because I'm letting people in again, I'm anxious avoidant, like you. High five. But literally a constant avoidant, like finding issues with them, straight away.
Self-sabotage mode.
Because of the fear of when I do let people in, then I get anxious, and it's like, I'd rather be in control. I'd rather be the one that keeps people far away than lets people in. But that's so toxic. That's hyper independence, and you're the one that lives out at the end. Like, you reject yourself then in the end, because like, you're not actually protecting yourself, you're actually just rejecting yourself from experiencing love or happiness or vulnerability. And like, when you treat sex as that kind of transactional thing to protect yourself from being vulnerable, you're not actually allowing yourself to experience that in the moment, and you're not actually getting that intimacy, you're not actually getting that true connection, which sex can be about as well. It doesn't have to actually be just about the penetration and someone coming. It can actually be.
This is it. I'm researching at the minute tantric sex.
Oh, tell me all.
Oh my god. So because I'm wanting to learn all about my, well, we say me having this pleasurable experience of intimacy and attraction, because I don't even have to be attracted to somebody to have sex with them. And I think that's when I realised I had this addiction, because I wasn't thinking about, are you good looking, are you good for me, any of it. I was just going straight for it, transaction, done. So a big thing for me when I learned, I accidentally found it on Porn Monday. That's how I found out about it.
Tantra.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's really enjoyable. So tantric sex is an emotional exchange, energy exchange, where you don't penetrate. And no, you don't penetrate. That was the whole basis of tantric sex. So a lot of people will work around tantric, and it will just be your energies aligned, and you're basically dry humping. But that feels amazing when you are so frequency bonded. Because you sit on the floor. This is one of the positions. You sit on the floor. Your pelvises are touching, so you can feel when each other are being turned on. The pulsations are incredible. And it's a slow burner. And I think men are very reluctant to try it, because they just want to fuck and then that's it. But the more they get into it, the more they can control their orgasms, the more they have orgasms that last forever and a day. And you won't always go into sex to come. You could leave it and only come twice a month, and it excels your pleasurable experience. So at the minute, I'm working on it. Because I'm a bit like a robot. Which I've also learned, because I'm so good at making myself come, Doesn't matter what he's doing to me. I can mentally get myself there before he's even there.
The dissociation we can do.
God, it's not good. It's not normal.
No.
It's not normal. And I think because I learned to enjoy it, that's how I dealt with it.
Okay.
So even if I wasn't enjoying it, I knew I was going to come anyway because I could do it.
And that's what's important as well. If you are like finding yourself dissociating from the actual experience, that's an opportunity to actually communicate with what your needs are.
Yeah.
Like if that person's not giving it to you and you feel the need to think about some sort of fantasy, that's when you come back into your body.
Yeah.
A question we had actually was fear of rejection with communicating their needs of sexuality. Now I don't know if that was because it's something taboo or if it's just literally they can't communicate with their partner. What
I think
would you
it's
say?
the fear of embarrassment. It's the fear of rejection. It's that what are they going to think of me moment where it's not, I say this all the time, my dad raised me with this one, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. So never live in the fear state of mind that you will be rejected or you will be embarrassed about a situation, because a lot of people's response mechanism is to laugh, but they don't realise how much that affects somebody. I laugh
the worst fucking situations. Like,
and
like,
you think, why am I laughing? Why am I finding this funny? Because I don't find it funny.
No, something serious can happen. Like it happened to me a few weeks ago. A really bad situation, but like I was around comfortable people that I was like, I'm not actually laughing, I can't really help it right now, and I'd smile and keep laughing. I'm like, I'm not stop.
And it's the worst thing, but then you don't mean it from a negative or a harsh place at all, but somebody else could take that as so triggering. And it's around the community. I exhaust the word communication. Honestly, I'm sick of hearing it myself. But if you know you've got an open line communication and you can go into that environment and be like, babe, please listen to me with what I'm about to say. Don't be attacked. Don't feel offended or anything. I just want to have this conversation because it'll make me feel better. And as soon as they think, okay, this is a conversation for you. This is not an attack on me and because I can't pleasure you or I can't do these things. You totally take not the blame, because I hate to say that you're blaming yourself, but this is you and this is what you need. This is nothing that they're doing, but this is what they could do to help you with this situation, so you can grow together. And then it kind of gives them a bit of an empowerment mode. So they're like, I can do this. I've got this.
I'm alright to this change.
So I think step out the fear. Step out the fear.
I think that's really important for relationships in general, that like we don't have to see the other person requesting something from you as an attack on something that you're doing wrong. It's just something that an emotionally mature adult will see as, okay, I see this and I see maybe it's something that you want to discuss about, fair enough, but at the end of the day, if you want to support that person, you just want to grow together, you just move forward together. You don't see it as them versus us. I learned that in relationships is really important, not just sexual partners but in friendships as well. If the other person doesn't want to communicate and move forward together, that's kind of it's the ego involved, isn't it, really?
Oh God, stepping out of an ego is the hardest thing to ever do for anyone at any age. And they keep talking about the Saturn return. I don't know if you've broached the freaking Saturn return.
I haven't.
So apparently, guys, we go through a Saturn return because we need more astrology thrown in there. I'm like,
no,
every
we don't need
month.
any more right now.
Jesus
Fuck
Christ.
me.
So from 27 to 32, I think it is, or 31, we have a Saturn return where every 27 years we change as a person.
Okay.
And not just astrologically,
Yeah.
but within the environments we choose to be in, our friendship circles, our jobs, we might be like, you know what, I've exhausted this. And this is literally exactly what happened to me. I'm 29, got to 27, I thought, fuck this shit, I'm done.
Wow.
I need a complete switch up. And then when I'd learnt about the Saturn return, I thought, Jesus Christ. And
so
men go through a really transitional period throughout that time.
Okay.
So I think it is an ego thing for me because I am so scared to drop my ego because I don't want people to know the real version of me.
Aw, but you're great. You're amazing.
So are you, baby girl.
Thank you.
We're all amazing. And
Yeah.
I think it's dropping that I'm going to be judged. And the ego comes with judgment massively because you're protecting yourself.
Yeah, it is. But like, that comes back to self-worth. Like, if you have such a fear of being judged, and a fear of being accepted. Like, why aren't you accepting yourself? You know, like, what it ultimately boils down to, if you're not being your true self, you're not showing up authentically.
Yeah.
Like, you're rejecting yourself, you know? You're trying so much to be liked, to fit in, to people please. But, like, where does that leave your relationship with yourself? And, like, that's such a basic thing that I had with a couple of clients, and that conversation coming up about self-worth, body checking, being disconnected from themselves. One client as well she actually was afraid to be fully herself because of how it triggers a friend, and it's like,
that's so sad.
I know. I was like, you're going to live your whole life
through pleasing someone else.
If you play small just to people please or make other people feel comfortable, you're not responsible for anyone's emotions, by the way. But if you do that, literally, you'll resent them.
Yeah, forever.
You'll resent the life that you never got to live. And if you trigger people in your life just by being yourself, if you trigger people by having these conversations about sex, fucking good. We need more shit like this in the world. I'm talking about all these kind of different ways of thinking. And it's like, I remember talking about this kind of stuff, like eating, relationship with food, gut-brain connection, trauma healing, any of this kind of stuff, even spiritual shit, was always like dipping my toe in it, like maybe I'll talk about this today, but then kind of explain how it's still sciencey and I'm still not really. No, just fucking be yourself. Like, people actually want you to be you, and like they love you for that. There's too much
authenticity.
Literally, that's what makes you you. And like, you're not just a body as well, you're like a whole person who has this fucking sense of humor, this energy, like how you make people feel, you know, and that's what people remember about you as well. I think that body image side of things is really important with sex.
Massive.
Like self-objectification, how they look kind of in the moment. Where would you kind of start with that with a client?
So I make you stand in front of a mirror naked. Okay. Have you heard about the mirror exercise?
With body image, yeah.
So I bet you work heavily on it as well. So for me, a lot of people struggle. The first problem is bedroom confidence. And that really comes down to their education behind sex, how good they think they are, whether the man's enjoying it, and the body shape. So the relationship they have with themselves, how much do they love the body, what do they not like about the body. And unfortunately, as women, we focus on the negative rather than the positive. So I will make them stand in front of a mirror, and it's really uncomfortable to start with. I died doing it the first time, but I do it with them. Okay. So I'm like, you stand in your underwear or whatever you feel comfortable in. You could have a robe on, you could have anything on.
I've seen this on that Blueprint at the Gwyneth Paltrow, the thing. Yeah.
So you stand there and you say, I love my boobs, I love my eyelashes. It can be anything, the smallest thing. And once you get past a couple of things, which is really hard to zone in on, because the imposter syndrome's going, well, I fucking hate my legs. I mean, my nipple's lower than the other nipple. Like, you naturally, we pick up on everything that we don't think's perfect, that we don't think is society's view on beauty. So we do that, and we do that exercise every single session.
Love that.
That is how we close it off, because you're empowered, you're putting those words of affirmation out, and you need that. We don't give ourselves... Whenever I catch myself in a mirror, I'll go, I love you. I love you. And honestly, stare myself in the face. On a morning, I have a you'll probably see me doing it now tomorrow. I have a mirror that's at the side of me and one that's right in front of me, and I'll sit up out of bed and I could look horrendous. It depends what night's sleep I've had. And I just look at myself and I go, sexy, gorgeous, I love you. And it sets me up for a different day, because I just think, I woke up with the ugliest, I shouldn't say this, the ugliest hair, look like I've been dragged through a bush backwards, dry mouth, stinking breath, and I just think, you know what, if I love myself at this point, everyone else is going to love me too. And once you're in that mindset, it's a knock-on effect.
That's so powerful. When you said sexy that time, it gave me, Fat Bastard from Austin Powers. I was like, hey you, sexy.
Literally. That is what I give myself every morning. Just at a big carb dinner. Hey, you sexy.
Oh, fucking hell. And oh my God. Actually, for anyone listening, my laugh, actually, when I'm really laughing, there's no noise. There's no noise.
Me and Kaz were talking about this the other day. when it gets so much, there's no noise, but that's a proper laugh.
Yeah.
That is a proper laugh.
Like, and you know, people then that will wheeze and shit, and you're just like, oh, this is even funnier.
I started snorting. What the fuck is that?
Yeah, so I think I've always snorted but suppressed it. And my friend Anya, shout out to Anya, she snorts all the time, and she's brought it out in me. And now it's like,
Miss Piggy, love it.
But again, I love that. I love that about me.
Love yourselves.
Love me.
Next time you do it, be like, I love my snort.
Literally in the mirror.
Love it. I'm here for it.
But that is, you made such a good point about how you will just pick out the negatives straight away. And what I always say to clients is, don't expect yourself to go from putting yourself down and criticizing yourself to self-love. It's not going to fucking happen. No. Come to that neutral middle ground first, where you're not entertaining your inner bitch. You're just not giving her the fucking time of day. Like what you said, Sasha, not today.
Yeah.
And using the likes of mindfulness and meditation to help you as well. But it's the moment to moment experience. Like, yes, meditate once a day, do all the great stuff with journaling.
Yeah.
But it's the moment to moment reprogramming of your automatic reactions. Like when you see the mirror, if you can't start with, you're sexy, if you can at least start with when the thought pops up, no, absolutely not. Or like, I love my shoes that I have today, or my clothes that I put on today, or my energy, or whatever. Just something that is actually going to help you come out of that automatic knee-jerk reaction where you put yourself down because you need to stop.
And you're recentering as well. I think I have my conversations at the end of the day with people. So like with clients that I'm speaking to, they might have had a really stressful day at work. So the last thing they want to do is stand in that mirror and tell themselves that they love themselves, and they would point blank refuse. And I'm like, no, we are doing it because it's going to help you, and it'll recenter you, and it completely brings you back to that middle ground, like you say, that neutral place, that you're not in your ego, you're not in your feminine, you're not in your masculine, you are totally grounded. And it has an amazing heightened response, I've found, in people's self-confidence, in even bedroom confidence, because the more you learn to love your stretch marks, the more you learn to love your beautiful big areolas, you're then more confident in the bedroom. And let me tell you now, a man is not looking at your jiggly bits. He's not looking at your labia that's hanging out. He is not interested in any way, shape or form on anything negative about your body. No. He is there to admire you in all your glory. And the more you are self-conscious about it, the more the energy shifts in the room. And a big thing for me is fake it till you make it, and not in orgasms. Let me just get that clear. But if you walk into a room, I always say, walk into a room as the person you want to see in that room. The person you want to be met with. That confident, light, sparky, powerful energy that you might not be feeling. You might be feeling so in yourself and not feel like I have no confidence today, I have no social battery, I have none of this. Pretend. Because then you eventually get there. And it's all about self-belief. We are our own biggest critics. And that's how we've been reprogrammed. Social media is the worst thing for it. School. Kids are awful. The worst thing for it. And I think suppressing things in from our parents as well. A huge thing where we're like, I daren't say that because I'll get told off. Or I'll embarrass my mum, so I'm not going to say that. Even though I started my period at 10. So young, and me and my mum were out shopping, felt this weird pain in my stomach, thought, what the fuck was that? Already had IBS, so I just thought, ooh, that's a tough one.
You have IBS as well? Pisces, IBS, PCOS, hello twin.
Are you as well?
Yeah.
Love that. How cold are your fingers?
Is that fucking aircon? No, the towels
She's
are
freezing.
blue.
And we went to the toilet, and obviously you go in the toilet with your mum, and I'd pulled my pants down, didn't even look into my neck because I'm talking to my mum, and she went, and I thought, oh my God, well, I'm dying. This is it. And I was traumatized. And then she was like, no, sorry, Jordan, sorry. And she completely turned it around. But that first reaction, I was embarrassed. I was upset. I cried. And she was like, no, it's fine. But she was so like, fuck, I've not got anything to help with this. And it was that she didn't expect me to come on that early.
No.
because she was so late. Okay. So it was like, shit, I'm going to have to broach this conversation now when I was not prepared for it. And I could feel that embarrassment from her. So, I mean, she's amazing now. We can talk about anything. I know more about my mum's sex life than I should probably know. She knows it as well. But even she said that she had, and it's generational trauma. We are constantly healing our ancestors. And my mum said about, she always felt embarrassed about the way that my mum would, her mum would dress. And she'd always make sure she covered up, and even showing her that as a young child. So she kind of did that with us, whereas my dad was the total opposite. He was like, why have you got a bikini on? You ain't got no boobs. You know, when we were growing up and we were like 5 or 6 and we'd strut round in the bikini, and my dad would be like, take that off, you're not covering anything. So I was so opposite ends of the spectrum with my mum and my dad. I thought, which one do I listen to here? Which one's wrong and which one's right? But again, it's the educational system, and I think it's not bringing shame on them when there is no shame.
No, I remember when we got sex education in school, the boys are taken out of the room.
Yeah.
Like, literally the girls are like, we were shown tampons and pads, and then the boys can come back in. Like, why aren't boys educated about periods?
It drives me insane. This is a big thing I want to work on as like a long-term goal, fixing the education system within schools. Because I'd started my period so young, way before we even knew what periods were in school. So I already knew.
Okay.
And then when everybody was laughing about it, I'm like, that's disgusting. And you see, that goes inside you. And I was mortified, thinking, I already am having these, and why is no one else having these? And why am I the only... There was me and one other girl that had started our periods, and we kind of clicked together, and we were like... And we were allowed to miss PE, but... would make an excuse up that we had tummy ache, and no, we're on his period.
Shame,
And it's an exhausting time, and that's okay. And this seriously needs to be a change of the way that we are raised as young adults, because it sets you up for how you are when you're older.
It can change situations. Like, if I would have known about topics with sex, shame about bodies, you know, just everything we've spoken about today, I wouldn't have gotten myself into situations that I've gotten myself into throughout the years. You know, I would have been able to protect myself in certain situations, say no in certain situations, just not put up with the shit that I've put up with through the years, you know. But it made me who I am today, and we're on the fucking podcast talking about it because of this.
Exactly, the traumas. I always say this. Our traumas got us here, so it's fine. It's fine.
We're all good. We're twitching. But honestly, we have spoken about so much today. That has been such an enjoyable episode. I might just start a sex podcast.
Please, we'll just do that.
We'll just do a talk show host, will we?
Yeah, love that.
But Jordan has her own podcast. Can you tell everyone about the podcast, where we can find you, and about your services?
So I am the Sex Aphrodite. You can hear it on Anchor and on Spotify. I post it all over my Instagram. I mean, I've been a guest on a few podcasts at the minute, so I'm not even filming my own at the minute. I'm just like, you know, I'm enjoying being a guest. I love it. I'm like, I don't like being the host anymore. I just want to talk about everyone else. But it's all on my Instagram, Jordan_Annabel. That's where you'll kind of find me. And yeah, I am currently working on my education program, which is Sex Aphrodite Education, and it's going to be heavily focused on webinars. So at the minute we're doing bedroom confidence, because I keep doing polls on my stories like you do, that what do people want to know? Because there's so much I think people want to know this, definitely, and they're like, ooh, too much. Whereas it's not a crude subject for me.
No,
So I think bedroom confidence kind of covers so many angles, and how to communicate with your partner, and what is deemed as a kink, what's not, and yeah, so we'll be learning about it all together.
Love it. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you.
These conversations need to happen more and more. Go share this podcast with your girls. Go share this podcast with your boys as well.
Your partner, your mum and dad.
Your mum and dad, yeah.
Jeez, your grandma. Get them all in there.
Not too late.
It's never too late, Jesus.
But like, literally share this podcast with someone, because the amount of things that we touch on today that are seemingly taboo, but they don't need to be. They literally don't need to be.
Yeah.
And the more comfortable we get the more comfortable we get with being uncomfortable about these things, that just goes out the window. Yeah. So yeah, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you, guys.
Pleasure. Go give Jordan some love, and stay tuned for everything she has coming. Oh my God, I'm coming. Yes. Didn't make any sexual innuendos. We actually did well.
I know.
Except for your sausage joke, though. yeah, thank you so much. And like I said, share this episode with people. Go give Jordan some love. Would really appreciate any reviews and any like ratings, double taps, etc., etc. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.